Hello everybody, it's Hippodippin here, and today we're going to be continuing with the best of their type series, and today we're going to be doing Ghost. Again, I want to apologize for taking so long for this video to get up here. It does take a while to make these videos. It's not so much the process of putting them together and recording, it's so much the process of actually testing out the information, testing different Pokemon, and seeing how well they perform, and yeah. But let's get right into it, no lengthy introduction today. So for Ghost Basics, they have the most amount of immunities in the game, that should say immunities, and they are immune to Fighting and Normal, which are two very good types to resist, to be immune to, that is, and I mean, it's awesome. Ghost type is probably one of my favorite defensive types in the game, if not my favorite, just because of the fact that they are so good. Not too many things hit them for super effective. The only things that do are other ghost type moves and dark. And you might be thinking, Ben, why would I want a defensive Pokemon that's weak to moves like knockoff? And well, I can understand your hesitation with that, and all I have to say to that is you don't want a ghost type in that situation to begin with. If you can avoid that, then the ghost type is going to serve you so well. But if not, it's just a way of how you can maneuver it and how well you can manage that Pokemon in the long run. So if you can avoid situations like that, then the Ghost type is going to serve you very well. And it's something I love so much. I love the Ghost type. But however, they do have relatively poor offensive potential. They are not very effective against that many types in the game. Unfortunately, they are only effective against Ghost and Psychic. So that's kind of a weak offensive potential, but they are still very powerful, as you'll see once we get later on in the list. And they also have the smallest amount of Pokemon of its type. This type contains the smallest amount of Pokemon. So this list was a little bit hard to make, a little bit shaky, but I was still able to fit 10 in there, and they are 10 awesome Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in a minute. And they cannot be trapped, which is great. Arena Trap is not going to trap them. Magnet Pull, although there are no, well, Magnet Pull is not going to trap them either, and they can be switched out from things like Whirlpool and Fire Spin and stuff like that, so they cannot be trapped that way. And most have an excellent move pool. Ghost types in general are just great. They have awesome ways of inflicting damage upon the opponent, and they have really phenomenal special and physical moves. So that's great. In general, most have great speed. Now, not all ghost types. Some ghost types are dreadfully slow, but the offensive ones tend to be very fast, and that's something that works very well for them. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to number 10. So our first Pokemon on the list is going to be this guy, Dusknoir. And the reason Dusknoir is even on this list is because I kind of had a hard time finding a Pokemon for number 10. The Ghost type is full of really good Pokemon, and also really bad Pokemon, unfortunately. So the Dusknoir is going to be our, placeholder for number 10. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's a very defensive Pokemon. However, it does have some issues. So I want to address those issues first. It does have a very poor HP stat of 45, which is actually really bad for a defensive Pokemon. You want that high HP to go ahead and sponge some of those attacks. So HP stat of 45 is definitely going to hurt it, and that's why it's so low on this list. If it had, like, say 60 HP or even 70 HP base HP, this Pokemon would be used everywhere, I swear. And Dusknoir is it's a really good Pokemon, but unfortunately its low HP stat is going to hold it back. Otherwise, it's got awesome defense and special defense of 135, great attack stat of 100, phenomenal move pool. Out of all the ghost type Pokemon on this list, I think Dusknoir's got one of the best move pools. And it is a great status setter, of course. However, it does have low speed, and because of that base HP stat of 45, it's greatly outclassed as a defensive Pokemon by other Pokemon on this list even. So Dusknoir is going to suffer quite a bit from that. And unfortunately, it's not a very memorable Pokemon in general. If you're using Dusknoir, you're immediately going to be wanting to use something else as soon as you get into any significant games where you need a very, very good defensive Pokemon, which in most games you do. So let's go ahead and move on to his set. 252 in HP, 252 plus in defense, 4 in special defense, and a negative nature in special attack. Frisk is a good ability, it's its hidden ability, and it allows you to see what the opponent is using. Frisk is going to allow you to go ahead and see what item they're using, eliminate any hesitation in your mind about what's going on. If they're choiced in some manner, if they're bluffing you, doesn't matter. And once you have that information, it's going to be great. Pokemon is an information game. I feel like it really plays a big part into its big strategy role. Information is going to win you battles, and it's going to help you decide to make decisions while that battle is going on. And Frisk is a great ability for that. For its item, you're going to want to use Leftovers, and for its moves, you're going to want to use Shadow Sneak, Payback or Taunt, and Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split. Now, Shadow Sneak, of course, is there for some kind of damage move in case you get taunted, or in case the opponent is left at a really, really low HP thing. You know what I mean? If it's really low, Shadow Sneak them to death and you should be fine. Payback, in case you get hit, and you can retaliate back with some really hefty damage. Payback turns into a, I believe, 100 power move if you get hit first, and thanks to Dusknoir's extremely low speed, that's going to happen often. And Taunt is there to shut down other Pokemon, and Will-O-Wisp is there to also cripple some of the physical attackers in the game, and Pain Split is there to go ahead and get some of your HP back. Unfortunately, Ghost types have a unique, well, I shouldn't say unique, have a significant lack of recovery outside of moves like Pain Split, so Pain Split is going to be there just to go ahead and help you get some kind of HP back while hurting the opponent at the same time. So that's going to work out pretty nicely for you. Now let's go ahead and keep going. Unfortunately, I don't have much to say about Dusknoir. It's a pretty lackluster Pokemon in general. But if you want to use them, by all means, you can go ahead and see just how mediocre Dusknoir is. But let's go ahead and move on. Number 9 is going to be Mismagius. A very, very common Pokemon in the lower tiers. This Pokemon just shreds when it gets the opportunity to do so. And that is for good reason. It's very, very powerful if you can use it correctly. So let's go ahead and take a look. It is an excellent setup sweeper in lower tiers. Like I said, it has a very, very solid base special attack, special defense, and speed of 105. And its other stats are 65. So that is pretty much... It's a very balanced Pokemon, I want to say. After one Nasty Plot, it is nearly unstoppable, which is just great. It really helps this Pokemon, who otherwise has kind of mediocre stats, turn into an absolute monster. And that's why it's used so much in the lower tiers, because of that lower stats, but it has awesome ways to go ahead and boost it and become unstoppable, really. Low HP in defense and needs to watch out for priority. If any Pokemon on this list is going to be hurt by priority, it's probably going to be Mismagius. This Pokemon is very fast, especially in the lower tiers, and so priority is going to be the thing that kills this Pokemon. If anything else, priority is definitely what the opponent's going to be used. Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak of its own, Bullet Punch, stuff like that. And Mismagius is going to definitely need to watch out for that if it wants to remain effective. Mismagius has a really cool ability just to shred. just to shred through teams like crazy. And unfortunately in the lower tiers, not too many Pokemon resist Ghost, outside of like normal types, so stuff like that. And Mismagius is just going to murder them, absolutely murder. So let's go ahead and move on. For Mismagius is set 252 in special attack and 252 plus in speed, 4 in HP, and a negative nature in attack is going to set you up pretty nicely. Levitate is the ability of choice. Life Orb, Focus Sash, or I'm sorry, that's just a Choice Specs, not Choice Band. Do not use a physical Mismagius, trust me. But yeah, that should say Choice Specs. And for its moves, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, and Energy Ball. Alternatively, you could also throw Leftovers on this set if you really wanted to. Go ahead and have your HP recover back in case you take any damage while setting up a while setting up a Nasty Plot, excuse me. And if you are going to be using a choice specs, and hopefully not a choice band, go ahead and replace Nasty Plot with Dazzling Gleam. Nasty Plot is probably one of the best moves in the game, no doubt about it. It's going to set your special attack up like crazy. And even after just one, you're going to be able to do serious damage to the point where your team can easily take out the rest if need be. But Miss Magius is a really good user of it, and Nasty Plot definitely serves it very well. Psychic, go ahead and hit those fighting types pretty hard. Also hits a lot of other Pokemon, namely Poison and Fighting, pretty much, for some pretty good damage. This is a good coverage move in general, and I love the Psychic type as a coverage type, excuse me. And Energy Ball to deal with all those very, very bulky water types found in the lower tiers. Energy Balls is going to demolish them. Things like Seismitoad are not going to be able to take that at all, even if you don't boost yourself. You are going to be doing some really serious damage, so these are the moves that you're going to be wanting to use. Shadow Ball, of course, stab move, and a good move in general. Maybe even get a chance to drop that special defense, who knows? But it's great, and I love this set, and I love this Pokemon, especially in the lower tiers. In the upper tiers, you're definitely not going to see it used, just because there are other things, but really, in the lower tiers, Miss Magius is pretty insane. So, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for Miss Magius. Let's go ahead and move on. Our next Pokemon on the list is going to be Jellicent. And I really like Jellicent. I love its design. I think it's an awesome, cool-looking Pokemon. However, it does not see very much usage. However, I feel like it can be used pretty effectively. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome wall. It really is. In the lower tiers, having a bulky water ghost type is invaluable. It is so powerful in respect to being able to take special hits that you're gonna see yourself using it once you recognize its potential, if you so choose. But Jellicent is just a great Pokemon, and I can't recommend it enough. So let's go ahead and move on to its basics. It's a fantastic wall in the lower tiers. This Pokemon can absolutely eat up attacks. It has access to reliable recovery, which many Pokemon on this list wish it could. And it has great base HP of 100. And it has a good base special defense of 105. And in addition to those things, it has great abilities to Curse Body and Water Absorb. Curse Body allows it to block some moves after they've made physical contact, which hopefully they won't. Jellicent is much better as a specially defensive Pokemon. Although with that insane HP stat, it is going to be able to weather some physical attacks as well, so you're not going to be in too big of trouble. As long as it's not a super effective physical hit, Jellicent should be able to eat it up pretty nicely. However, Curse Body will maybe proc every once in a while, and when it does, it's going to be able to block the opponent's moves, preventing them from using it again, which is actually pretty nice. It has a 30% chance to actually happen, and it happens more often than you think, which is pretty cool. Its other ability, Water Absorb, might see a little bit more usage. If you can predict a water-type move that the opponent might use, go ahead and switch in on it, and you might even get some HP back out of it, which is awesome. And it easily fits in on most teams, which is great. Jellicent's an easy Pokemon to use, I feel like. Basically, anybody can use it and find something good about it in a pretty short amount of time. It's a very reliable Pokemon in that, too. However, it has lackluster base defense and is slow. However, as a defensive Pokemon, slowness is not going to be a huge draw on it. It is going to be noticeable, but in the big picture, how slow or fast a defensive Pokemon really does not matter unless it's like down to the last minute. So think about that, but in general, Jellicent's great. So let's go ahead and take a look at its set. 252 in HP and 252 plus in special defense is going to be the setup of choice. 4 in special attack and in negative nature in attack is great too. Water Absorb over Curse Body, I feel like both are great abilities, but I feel like Water Absorb would be a little bit more, you'd see it happen a little bit more often. Water Absorb is just a pretty good ability in general, and you're going to be getting a bunch of your HP back if you were to switch in, or maybe have the opponent predict a switch, and you can stay in. Bunch of possibilities with that, and Water Absorb is great move, great ability in general. especially for a defensive Pokemon. Leftovers is going to be the item of choice. Really, not anything else is going to be too beneficial to Jellicent besides leftovers. Really not. You could see some offensive Jellicents, but it's very, very rare. And usually they don't work out so well, so leftovers is going to be the item of choice. For his moves, you're going to want to use Scald, Shadow Ball, Toxic or Giga Drain, and Recover. Now, this Pokemon has an interesting move pool. It has a lot of cool moves it can draw from, and with that, it's going to be able to go ahead and just surprise the opponents. Jellicent, like I said earlier, is not that widely used, so when you do use it, if you do choose to, you will have the ability to throw off the opponent pretty nicely. And Scald, maybe get a burn every once in a while. Toxic, wear down the opponent even more, or you could Giga Drain and get some of your HP back during that turn as well. Jellicent does get access to Giga Drain, which is really, really interesting. And Recover is there as a way to get back all of that HP you lost, and in doing so, it's going to be pretty nice. So that's pretty much Jellicent. I love this Pokemon. I think it's really cool, and I can't recommend it enough, so go ahead and use it. Let's go ahead and move on. Our next Pokemon is going to be Dusclops, and a lot of what I said about Dusknoir applies to Dusclops as well. Dusclops is a very cool Pokemon in the fact that it's a not fully evolved Pokemon, and in being so, it's going to be able to take use of that Eviolite. So let's go ahead and take a look. Great move pool, just like Dusknoir. Eviolite brings both defenses up to base 195, which is very, very high. It's going to offset kind of that low HP a little bit, but not really. That's why it's kind of low on this list. But really, Dusclops is a good Pokemon. It gets seen a little bit more, and I can see why. With the Eviolite, it's a very defensive Pokemon, and it really shines. It really does. A lot can be said about Dusknoir and Dusclops. They're pretty much exactly the same. However, I do recommend Dusclops a little bit higher, and everything I said about Dusknoir can be taken into account with Dusclops as well. And it is slow, and it has lack of reliable recovery outside of Pain Split, and Pain Split itself is not even that reliable, so that's pretty much how that works out. And let's go ahead and move on. Really not much to say about those two Pokemon. 252 in HP and 252 plus in defense, 4 in special defense, and negative nature and special attack. Frisk is of course going to be the same ability of choice. Eviolite, Shadow Sneak, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, Infestation, Confuse Ray, and Destiny Bond. Wanted to bring a few different things in for this set as opposed to the Dusknoir set. Infestation's a great move to go ahead and use, trap the opponents in there with you. And if you can get an Infestation and Will-O-Wisp combination going on, the opponent's going to be worn down very, very quickly. Alternatively, you could also use Confuse Ray and Destiny Bond. Two very good and very annoying moves to go ahead and have to deal with. If you use Destiny Bond, the opponent can't really do much to you, else they risk themselves dying as well. And thankfully, due to Dusclops' slow speed, you can use Destiny Bond, and the opponent pretty much is going to be locked into not attacking you. If they are choiced in some way, you basically force a switch unless the opponent's willing to kill their Pokemon at the cost of yours. And really, it's a cool move. And since, like I was saying earlier, Dusclops is slow, you're really going to force the opponent to think a little bit more strategically. Granted, a faster Pokemon might get a little bit more use out of Destiny Bond, just because it can surprise the opponent before they can act accordingly. So, you know what, that comes into account as well. So that's pretty much going to be Dusclops. Really, the Dusclops-Dusknoir family is pretty good. However, they do have their flaws, and that's why they're kind of low on this list. But otherwise, they're a good Pokemon, and there just is not much to be said about both of them, unfortunately. But do go ahead and check them out if you're willing to. You might very well find your new favorite defensive Pokemon. Me personally, probably not, but they are good Pokemon in general, and in the lower tiers, they are very, very viable. So go ahead and check them out if you want to. Let's go ahead and move on. Our next Pokemon on this list is going to go ahead and be Aegislash. I'm sorry, not Aegislash, Doublade. However you want to pronounce it. Aegislash is actually in Ubers, so I don't really play Ubers, and I can't really speak for it, but I can definitely speak for Doublade. Doublade is a pretty cool Pokemon in the fact that it is actually very, very useful. It's a very cool Pokemon, and it is definitely seeing a lot more usage in the lower tiers. It's extremely powerful, actually, and can definitely be used in the upper tiers if so one chooses. And it's great. It's a not final evolved. It's not final evolution, so it can definitely make use of Eviolite to boost its defenses up to crazy high amounts. So let's go ahead and take a look. Like I just said, it's a fantastic Eviolite user. Astounding base defense of 150 before Eviolite. I don't have the numbers right up here in front of me of what it is with the Eviolite, but I can just tell you it's going to be over like 210. It's crazy. And it has a great attack stat of 110. It's an awesome setup sweeper as well. Doublade is pretty much there to go ahead and switch into some attacks, maybe take a few hits if necessary, and then go ahead and set up the Sword Stance and just destroy. It's really, really cool to go ahead and see people go ahead and use it, and it definitely shows its usage in that way. It's an excellent physical wall in lower tiers as well, and it has a limited but effective move pool. This Pokemon has exactly the moves it needs to be effective. It has no more but no less, and it's very, very cool to go ahead and see that. And it is slow and will require speed control if you want it to be a sweeper. But however, Doublade is just freaking insane, I swear. It's it's a combination of Ghost and Steel make it one of the most defensive Pokemon in the game, having the most amount of resistances as well, and that just makes it all the more crazy. And after one Sword Stance, your base attack is going to be 210 or 220, excuse me, and nothing is going to be able to stand up to you reliably. It's going to 2-hit KO everything no matter what, and it's just crazy. It really is. So let's go ahead and take a look. So 252 in HP and 248 plus in defense, 8 in attack, and a negative nature and special attack. Just boost that attack just a little bit more. No Guard is going to be your ability. No other choice there, but it is a good ability. However, I feel like No Guard is not very beneficial for Doublade, because all the moves you're going to be using are going to be 100% accuracy. So, if anything, that's just going to help your opponent hit you. I do wish Doublade got a little bit more different abilities to go ahead and choose from, because No Guard is not that great, really. It just isn't. And but yeah, in general it's a good ability. However, I feel like on Doublade it's not as useful. Eviolite is of course going to be the item you're going to want to use. Iron Head, Sword Stance, Shadow Sneak, and Sacred Sword are going to be your moves. And I say that just because Doublade really doesn't have anything else to work with. However, these moves do their job effectively. Iron Head and Shadow Sneak for that stab. Sword Stance, boost that attack like crazy. And Sacred Sword is there to go ahead and just soak up, I'm sorry, not soak up, but to just plow through other steel types and types that would otherwise give Doublade a little bit of trouble. But in general, it's such a good Pokemon, it really is. And I feel like it is pretty overpowered in the lower tiers. You see it everywhere, and it is pretty insane. So it's a very good Pokemon. Definitely do make use of it if you happen to catch this video before they do something with it, because I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll ban it or move it up a tier or something like that, just because of how crazy good it is. Maybe not soon, but in a while. And Doublade is just a really cool Pokemon in general. Very, very effective at what it can do, and it is just great. It really is. So let's go ahead and move on to our next Pokemon, which is going to be Cofagrigus. And I love Cofagrigus. He is, if you watch my videos before, you know how much I love Cofagrigus. He is definitely my favorite Ghost-type Pokemon. And he's such a cool looking dude, and he's very, very unique in that. So let's go ahead and take a look. It is an awesome defensive Pokemon. It's just awesome. I love it so much. It is viable in higher tiers. I can attest to this so many times, and I've got proof too. Just watch my previous videos and you'll see Cofagrigus used everywhere from freaking NU to OU. It's great. And it has an ability to take on powerful physical attackers, like any good defensive Pokemon should, if they are physically defensive. It has a fantastic base 145 defense and 105 special defense. And that just means, all that means to you is that Cofagrigus can just soak up attacks like a monster. It is an absolute monster, and I don't feel like enough people take advantage of it. It has an awesome move pool. It really does, and it is a Trick Room user. Another thing I forgot to throw in here is that it has the cool ability Mummy, which is going to nullify any other ability of a Pokemon that makes physical contact with you. Excuse me. And it's going to cripple some Pokemon that rely on their ability, namely Sheer Force Pokemon, Pokemon that rely on Mold Breaker, stuff like that. It's going to just, it's going to nullify their abilities, and it's going to nullify them in the process as well. Either forcing a switch, or just forcing the opponent just to keep going. If you have some way of working around, say like for example, I just had one. Anyway, but it's off the top of my head now. But I'm just saying, it just nullifies so many good abilities for other Pokemon. And Cofagrigus is a Pokemon that you can easily switch into on others, and it's just gonna, completely nullify whatever they're gonna go ahead and do. And it is slow and has a lack of recovery. However, that is not going to limit it too much because it has such high defenses, you're not going to be taking that much damage to begin with. Cofagrigus is just such a cool Pokemon. I love it so much. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at his set. 252 in HP and 252 plus in defense, 4 in special defense, and a negative nature and attack. Mummy is going to be your only ability, and it's a great ability to go ahead and have. Leftovers is going to be your item of choice. Get back a little bit of HP each turn. It's going to help you out. Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, Knockoff, Trick Room, or Nasty Plant. Cool little bunch of moves here. Hex and Will-O-Wisp pair very nicely with each other. After a Will-O-Wisp, Hex is going to be base 120 damage, and that is just insane. If you can Will-O-Wisp the opponent and then Hex them, it's over. It's going to be doing some really hefty damage. And Pain Split is there just to go ahead and get some HP back, bring you and your opponent back down to equal levels. And Knockoff is there to go ahead and cripple Pokemon that rely on their item, namely Choice Pokemon, Pokemon with Life Orb, whatever, Leftovers, doesn't matter. Knockoff is going to be there just to go ahead and help you out too. Trick Room if you really want to go down that route, and Nasty Plot are great moves too. Alternatively, you could also pair Nasty Plot with maybe Will-O-Wisp and Trick Room. You could have Trick Room and Nasty Plot on the same set and replace Hex with Shadow Ball. Nasty Plot is going to be boosting your special attack like crazy, and thankfully Cofagrigus is one of the Pokemon that gets access to it. But if I had to recommend any set, I'd say Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, and Knockoff. Just because that's the set I've used on all my videos that I've used Cofagrigus, and it is just so good. You could also use Infestation if you really wanted to trap the opponent in there with you, but it's all up to you. Whatever your team requires is whatever your team requires. Go ahead and run it however you like, whatever's going to benefit your team the most. This is just a recommendation, so take it as such. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next Pokemon. The next Pokemon on this list is going to be this guy. And I love Trevenant so much. It's such a good Pokemon. If you've seen some of my more recent videos, previous videos I've used Cofagrigus a lot, but some of the more recent ones I've started using Trevenant. And oh man, I love Trevenant. He is so good. Has it replaced Cofagrigus as my favorite Ghost-type Pokemon? No. But it's still a very viable Pokemon in that. This Pokemon is unique. None of its stats are particularly fantastic, but its ability is what brings it into the light. Trevenant is such a good Pokemon, and let's go ahead and see why. It has very solid 85, 76, and 82 defenses when taking burn into account. You're going to want to go ahead and inflict a burn on your opponent. That's just going to help you out in the long run. 110 attack. Harvest allows for berry abuse, and that's what brings this Pokemon into the limelight, let me tell you. If you can go ahead and set Harvest up with, say, like a citrus berry or a lum berry or whatever, Trevenant is going to be there for a while. Trevenant is such a defensive Pokemon when you go ahead and take Harvest into account. Granted, its defenses don't look particularly astounding, but that's fine. As long as you got Harvest up, Harvest is going to keep you in the battle for ages. Trevenant has a hard time being one-hit KO'd by many things, unless it's super effective, but Trevenant is one of those Pokemon that can just stand up and keep on fighting, so long as it has the means to do so. And like I said, it can last a very long time in battle, and it is diverse enough to be unpredictable. When you take a look at Trevenant, you don't know what berry it's running, because I can guarantee you they're going to be using Harvest. But you don't know if it's going to be citrus berry or lum berry or, you know, whatever kind of berry. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to do a little bit of fighting to figure out what type of Trevenant it is. And unfortunately for Trevenant, it is slow, and it has many weaknesses to be considered. However, do I feel like that prevents Trevenant from being effective? Absolutely not. Trevenant is one of those Pokemon that is unique in its ability to just stay in there for long periods of time, inflict damage, and keep going. So let's go ahead and take a look at its set. 252 in HP and 252 plus in defense, 4 in attack and a negative nature in special attack. Harvest is its hidden ability and one of the greatest abilities in the game. Go ahead and use it. Lum berry, citrus berry, and chesto berry are some of the berries that you can go ahead and make use of. I definitely prefer lum berry, but citrus and chesto are two berries to go ahead and take into consideration. And for its moves, Shadow Claw, Hornleech, Will-O-Wisp, and Rest is pretty much the set that I cannot recommend enough. Some people like to use Citrus and something along the lines of Curse. Curse in its moveset, just go and bring that HP down very, very quickly. That is another good set, but I definitely prefer mine over that. And the only reason that is because you can rest up so much faster. You can go ahead and use Rest, have your Lum Berry activate, you wake up, harvest the same Lum Berry on the same turn, and go ahead and rest again if you need to. And then all the while you can have Will-O-Wisp damage wearing the opponent down. That's what brings Trevenant up so high on this list. I have seen no other Pokemon be as effective at wearing down the opponent as this Pokemon. It's just great, it really is. Will-O-Wisp them, they're going to hit you, you're going to take a lot of damage, and then afterwards you can go ahead and rest up and eliminate all the damage, all of the status conditions they may inflict on you. They don't matter. Lum Berry is going to take care of that, and in turn Harvest is going to take care of that as well. And the only thing you're really going to have to watch out for is going to be knockoff. However, there are situations where Trevenant can get away with being knocked off and still have its berry. Namely, if you go ahead and use Rest on that turn, they go ahead and knock off. Well, you already used your berry since you just rested, and now you can go ahead and... Alright, so here, I feel like I'm not explaining this right. You rest, right? You get all your HP back, the Lum Berry brings you back to being awake. And then the opponent uses knockoff. Well, the berry isn't there, you just used it. So, the opponent can't knock off anything, so the damage is minimal, and then maybe you harvest your berry again the next turn, or the turn after that. It doesn't matter. Harvest is such a crazy good ability, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, that's going to be Trevenant. I can't say enough good things about this Pokemon. I really can't. It's such a viable Pokemon. And if you haven't used it yet, I must ask you why. It's so good. But yeah, that's going to be it for Trevenant. Let's go ahead and move on. Number 3 is going to be Chandelure. Chandelure is a powerhouse, if anything. It is such a good Pokemon. It really is. And what it shines best in is just wall breaking. This guy can destroy defensive Pokemon like it's absolutely nothing. This Pokemon is so powerful, and it really shows when you go ahead and use it. So let's go ahead and take a look. Great, and I mean absolutely great, base 145 special attack. It has an awesome move pool, and something you can go ahead and take into assumption about Chandelure is that it's usually choice in some way, either choice Specs or choice Scarf, and you can use that to your advantage if you're going up against one. That does tend to make it a little bit predictable, but at the same time, it is such a good Pokemon. I can't really take that against it. And it is diverse and unpredictable in terms of its moveset. Chandelure has access to insane amounts of good coverage moves that it makes it unpredictable in that regard. However, you can usually take it under assumption that it is going to be choice in some way. And it is an absolute powerhouse after speed control, and it has very few resistances. Not many Pokemon can both resist Ghost and Dark moves, and even if they can, Chandelure has access to really good, really good coverage moves that can go ahead and offshoot that. So you can definitely take that into consideration if you're going to be choosing to use the Pokemon, which I highly recommend that you do. Chandelure is such a good Pokemon, and it really makes sense in the long run when you look at how effective it can be. However, base 80 speed leaves something to be desired. This Pokemon is rather slow, considering that it is an offensive Pokemon. Base 145 special attack is great, but of course Nintendo had to nerf this guy by bringing his speed down, and that's why it's usually going to be Choice Scarfed, but I have seen it be Choice Smacks if maybe the opponent has a Sticky Web up, who knows. But it is a very good Pokemon. Let's go ahead and take a look at his set. 252 plus in special attack and 252 speed. If you absolutely want to be sure that you're going to be outspeeding the opponent, go ahead and put that plus in speed. It doesn't matter. Chandelure is a powerful Pokemon to be taken into consideration, and even if you put the beneficial ability into speed, it's still going to hit like a truck. And put it into speed if you're going to be using choice specs as well. I do feel like I should mention that. Put 4 on HP and a negative nature on attack. Infiltrator is going to be the ability of choice. Allow you to hit through substitutes, reflect light screen, all that good stuff. That is going to be insanely powerful. Infiltrator's a really good ability to go ahead and have. Makes all the defenses that the opponent can put up null and void. Chandelure can just eat right through that, and it's going to make a big difference in the long run. And for its item, Choice Scarf or Choice Specs, I definitely prefer Choice Scarf just to make that speed a little bit higher. Anything can help Chandelure in that regard. Flamethrower or Fire Blast is going to be the first move of choice. I prefer Flamethrower for its accuracy. Base 145 speed, or base 145 special attack is going to make that move hit hard no matter what. Fire Blast, if you really want to be powerful, but I can't recommend it with that low accuracy. But if you want to go ahead and use it, by all means, go right ahead. It's a very powerful move. And for its second move, Shadow Ball, of course, good stab move. For its third move, Trick, if you want to cripple the opponent, really helps it out. If you're using choice specs, maybe trick that onto a physical attacker. Ooh, they are done for you. They cannot do a thing about it. It's pretty awesome. Trick is a very good Pokemon. Trick is a very good move in that regard. And for its last slot, Psychic or Energy Ball is another choice. If you want to get rid of Trick and use Energy Ball, by all means, definitely go ahead and use that. Energy Ball is a very good coverage move, but I feel like Psychic is good as well. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd have to say Energy Ball, just for that extra coverage. You are definitely going to see it used a little bit more than Psychic would. But still, Chandelure is an awesome Pokemon. Just the amount of coverage it has is insane, and you're going to be seeing that usage increase, I feel like, in the future. Chandelure just checks and counters some of the, well, not counters, but it checks some of the biggest threats in the metagame right now, especially in UU, so go ahead and check it out. But yeah, that's going to be it. Hi guys, I accidentally got cut off by my recorder, excuse me. But I was pretty much done talking anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to our next Pokemon, which is going to be Sableye and Mega Sableye. Two very different Pokemon. You get 2 for 1, basically. Sableye is a really cool Pokemon to go ahead and have, and definitely shows, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Like I said, they are essentially 2 Pokemon in one. Defensive for regular Sableye is 50, 75, and 65, so pretty basic and not very extraordinary. But really, paired with its ability Prankster, makes it very viable. And defenses of 50, 125, and 115 for Mega Sableye. Prankster and regular Sableye and Magic Bounce for Mega Sableye. 2 of the best abilities in the game. Prankster is going to help Sableye just set up those priority Will-O-Wisps, priority recovers, priority all that stuff. And Magic Bounce is going to prevent Mega Sableye from being like statused or trapped or taunted or anything crazy like that. It's just going to bounce it right back, and Mega Sableye can pretty much do whatever he wants. So that is going to be definitely helping that out in the long run. I feel like Magic Bounce is going to help it a little bit more. Priority Burns, like I said, also it has access to insane, reliable recovery in Recover, and not a whole lot of Pokemon can count on that as often as Sableye can. However, it is slow and loses one of the best abilities when it Mega Evolves. However, I feel like this isn't like the biggest deal in the world, just because, granted, Prankster is one of the best abilities in the game, arguably the best, but Magic Bounce is also, it's a very good ability to go ahead and have, and it essentially is about on the same realm as Prankster in usefulness. So it's not the greatest offshoot in the world, but do Mega Evolve responsibly. Mega Evolve at the right time and you're set for the rest of the game, or Mega Evolve at the wrong time, prematurely or too late, and Sableye could be done for, who knows. It's all a matter of timing for this Pokemon, so you have to plan it effectively, and when you can, it's going to serve you very well, but otherwise you're going to run into a little bit of trouble. But let's go ahead and move on. For Mega Sableye set and regular Sableye, I kind of threw in both options here, kind of as a, offshoot of the other. For both 252 in HP and 252 plus in defense, 4 in special defense, and a negative nature of attack. For regular Sableye, Prankster is your ability of choice, and Leftovers is your item of choice. Just to go ahead and keep that up, keep up that HP. Prankster is going to help you out with that also in terms of Recover. And Dark Pulse, Calm Mind, Recover, and Will-O-Wisp are going to be your moves of choice for both. And for Mega Sableye, Magic Bounce and Sable Knight, of course, are going to be your abilities and items respectively, and it is definitely going to help you out with that. Dark Pulse, good stab move. Mega Sableye and regular Sableye are Ghost Dark. Calm Mind, go ahead and boost that special attack and special defense. That's why we invested in defense, so we can boost our special defense as well. And Recover is just going to help keep yourself healthy, although you do have to be a little bit more careful with it when you do Mega Evolve. And Will-O-Wisp to go ahead and cripple the opponent, and in general, just be a big pain for everybody. But yeah, that's going to be Mega Sableye. Let's go ahead and move on to number 1, which is of course going to be Gengar. All of you who are watching this list wondering where he was, well, here he is. Here he is in his full glory. Let's go ahead and take a look. Not much to say about him because he's just that good. Great base 130 special attack and 110 speed. Levitate removes a major weakness, so this guy is immune to 3. He's immune to ground, fighting, and normal, which is great. Can be diverse, but usually the most basic set is run, which is pretty much true for all Pokemon. And it forces switches. This Pokemon is so powerful that it's gonna force the opponent to keep on switching to keep his Pokemon somewhat healthy and keep damaging Gengar, which is not going to be easy. And it is a great Choice Specs user. However, most now are going to be more Focus Sash, but Choice Specs can definitely take some people off their guard, so do take that into consideration when using him, and you're going to be using a very, very powerful Pokemon when you do so. However, it is frail and cannot take too many neutral hits. Super effective, you can forget about it, but neutral, you are going to have to watch out. It is it's a very frail Pokemon, so you are going to definitely need to consider when's the best time to use Gengar. Like last Pokemon, this Pokemon is all about timing. You need to be able to realize when's the time to bring Gengar out and when's the time to bring him back, just so you can save him for later. Gotta think long term and what's your end game plan. But yeah, let's go and take a look at his set. 252 in special attack and 252 plus in speed, 4 in special defense, and a negative nature in attack. Levitate is your only ability, and it is a great one at that. Choice Specs, Life Orb, or Focus Sash, take your pick. They're all essentially the same in usage, at least. A little bit less Choice Specs, but that's the one I prefer. Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, and Dazzling Gleam. awesome, awesome moves. Alternatively to Giga Drain, you could also use Thunderbolt, and alternatively to Dazzling Gleam, you could use Psychic. However, I feel like Dazzling Gleam would serve you a little bit better in terms of stuff it can hit. It can definitely hit a wider range of things than Psychic can, but it is still a good move in general. And Giga Drain is there to go ahead and get some back, get some of your HP back, that is, while doing damage at the same time, and it can punch through those bulky water types at the same time, so that's going to work out pretty nicely for Gengar. And I really don't have much to say about it. If you watch my Poison video, I think I go into a little bit more detail on Gengar from there, but really Gengar is a very basic Pokemon, and it's super, super effective at what it can do, and that is just to pretty much get in there and do as much damage as possible. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and being patient with this video. I did take an awfully long time to upload it. My apologies. I am sorry about how long these videos do take to upload. I don't have as much time as I did in the past, and it does take a while to test all these Pokemon out before I go ahead and put them on the list. So thank you very much. I'm Hippodippin. Thank you for watching. All your support means everything to me, and I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.